The algorithm isn't the problem. Your clarity is. The algorithm hates me. The algorithm is not working. I've been shadow banned. The truth is, you can't just keep blaming and naming and shaming the algorithm. It's probably got a lot to do with what you're not doing. You need to think about originality. And originality right now is really selling. We're here to take you through the strategy in place on how you can do that. So let's begin with your reach didn't die. Your message was just too vague. So we're here to fix it. We're here to break up with the whole algorithm conspiracy thing, because how often have you said, the algorithm hates me, the algorithm is not working, I've been shadow banned, all of the things that we all like to say. The truth is, you're actually not putting in the right energy and strategy and system to be able to get more reach and more views. So welcome back to Say It With Your Chest. My name is Tamara Meyer, and we are going to look at the own framework on how you can really understand, one, what's going to really allow you to gain more reach, but have the proper plan in place, follow the right system so that A, you can have never again this conversation that the algorithm hates you, and breaking up with the algorithm and have a plan in place so that you know exactly what you need to do to be able to have more visibility and, of course, conversions. Now, before we go through this particular episode, I want to first and foremost say, Queen or King, if you have been watching this for a while, and I have asked a couple of times to subscribe to our channel and you haven't done so yet, please, for the love of God, if you are enjoying these chest moments, these let's just get it off our chest episodes, and also just really are big on really getting more reach out there and you want us to see grow and succeed, then we would really like you to hit that subscribe button, especially if you want to get better guest speakers on this podcast and also just allow us to really help more people out there. Because aside from the chesty moments and your girl Tamara with Tits McGee here, I actually do want to help people in the online space to help them grow with more impact, and of course, helping people really grow in their online space with their voice and visibility. So let's get into the content strategy for your algorithm fix. Now, if you're having these conversations with yourself that the algorithm is broken, then you're not looking at your content as an actual engine. And if you're thinking about, and chasing likes and trends, and you're also, not consistent in what you're doing, you're comparing yourself online to other people, you don't actually have the right concept, the pillars, the messaging, this is probably why right now you're feeling like you're butting heads with the algorithm. And we really want to start to think as a business, but also see it as an opportunity to look at what you can refine, test, tune, and change. Because at the end of the day, everything is a mirror, yes, but you can't just keep blaming and naming and shaming the algorithm. It's probably got a lot to do with what you're not doing. And we're here to take you through the strategy in place on how you can do that. So let's begin with the OWN framework. Now, this stands for own the outcome, weaponize your system, and nail your message. Now, let's break down what each of these frameworks mean so you can know exactly what you can start doing on getting more engagement, more views, but most importantly, owning who you are with visibility and your own voice. When it comes to owning the outcome, I think it's saying more about what can I do differently in these circumstances. Now, I always like to share a story that when I went from fitness to business coaching, there was a lot of outcomes I had to own, which was A, I had a lot of male followers back then. I had to own that, which meant B, I had to change the audience that I was working towards, and C, I had to really repeat my message over and over again, which a really big thing a lot of people don't understand, that if there is changes happening with your message, who your audience is, that gets to be something you can actually fix. It's not a fast fix, but it's definitely a fix you can have. And just to give you context, something that I had to own with the outcome that was happening with my social media was sometimes your market will shift, sometimes your audience is shifting, and something you need to adapt within yourself in order on having the right visibility and presence online. So when I went from 29% female followers, and it was whatever that is equal to men, I've now got nearly an equal balance of men and women, which is great because we work with men and women. How we did that, owning the outcome, was really about adapting to the time that was ahead and getting really clear on who I wasn't speaking to who I was speaking to. And that's really important when you are wanting to really understand the algorithm. It wants you to be on social media. It wants you to win. And it's just really about looking at it from a perspective of, okay, this is fixable. I haven't done anything wrong. And let me tell you, I've done the buying followers. I've done the really inappropriate sexy photos. I've done the validation. I've, bought the bots. Like I've done all that. And I can tell you now, you're not banned. The algorithm is broken. It's just one of those things you need to look at it from a strategy perspective. Now, when we get to W, and that's the systems, there's so many different systems we want to think about, and we've kind of narrowed it down to a couple of things. Now, content really is about understanding, as you as the business owner and the founder, is that you have to create content and you have to be really, again, understanding that it's not just about a copy and paste format. You need to think about originality. And originality right now is really selling. And that means content is less about the cinematic stuff. It's more about how can you be more human in your experience, having more connection, and how can you do the content creation that allows you to be known for that one thing. The one thing that if you look at anyone right now, they might show up online in a certain way. They might be in the same location in the same way. They might have the right wording with how they introduce themselves. They might be particular on, their controversial or point of views, or they might have a certain voice where they're, more humor. You need to know what your originality is, which is owning who you are. Now, content also means that you have your own pillars, and that means you'll have your own deliverables and creatives. As an example for me, I have stopped doing that sort of short form content to an extent. I say that with to an extent because obviously, it is great to have short form content, but we've really doubled down on the things that has done really well, which is what I'm kind of leaning into next. It's making sure you can start seeing the systems of what is doing well and doing more of that. And that for me is speaking talking heads. If I was to give you guys my phone and look at all the content pieces I've done, the thing that performs well is the one of me talking like this as if I'm speaking to my best friend. But that works for me because I've been able to double down and audit based on the systems we've created to look at what is working, what isn't, what do I need to do more of. When it comes to doubling down on what you're good in, that is probably the second thing when it comes to working the system. And, you've obviously decided on the content deliverables being original. You've doubled down on what's working for you. And that also means you need to start implementing and studying hooks. Hook systems is so important right now. And it's really understanding how you go and create a statement piece, whether it's, the secret to X, that could become, maybe that could have been really popular maybe 2 years ago. But that in itself, now you need to start being a little bit more creative on getting people's attention. And so the system of grabbing people's attention in a content space is not just about the first 1.3 seconds. It's actually the curiosity gap on getting people to watch your content long enough to the very end to then loop the end to why you got them into the first place. So your hook system is part of working the system. And over time and time again, that's going to get better, which leads me into point number 3. It's not about changing everything in the system. You'll have the deliverables, you'll have, the consistency, the quantity, I'm going to change the language of the hook, and obviously getting better at each little change you make. Which brings me to the final point, to your feedback loop, which means every opportunity you focus on changing one thing is feedback for you to know what has worked, what hasn't, what do I do more in, what do I do less in, what do I stop doing completely, what do I do more in. And when you focus on those 3 things and you're working in your own system, you'll be able to really own the algorithm in itself. So just to kind of give that in a quick nutshell, content deliverables, the right content system that works for you, having the right hooks, working on your language, and knowing your feedback loop on what you change and audit every single week. Which leads me to my final piece of the OWN framework, and that is nailing your message. Now, this has been a conversation that a lot of people talk about time and time again. I don't like the word niche because it makes people overthink and paralyze themselves from making decisions. But if you can think about what you're known for, that one thing you can generally say it in one sentence. And so when it comes to your content pillars, then it's your messaging pillars. And that means you'll rinse and repeat your message time and time again in different ways, formats, and you're here to create a solution to a problem that is your message that you're known for at the end of the day. Now, people think I've got more than one message. I do too. And that's okay. But there'll be things that you'll start to pick up on now that you're looking at your system as a strategy, and you'll start to see what people are resonating with more. And then you'll literally cull it down to 3 main things. And that's going to be what you're known for and what you'll rinse and repeat time and time again. Last but not least, with your messaging, don't stress about getting it right, because the most important thing to marketing is it is a butterfly effect, which means the one small tweak can actually create a massive ripple in the online space. The same with the algorithm. So I really want to make sure you guys start auditing your content, start looking at patterns, because patterns don't lie, numbers don't lie, and that's going to give you a clear indicator of what's working and what isn't. Now, I want you to go over with me before we finish this beautiful episode on an algorithm scorecard. This is just to give you a little bit of a base on what you can start looking on or looking in when it comes to having a really good relationship with your algorithm and knowing what to improve on, so you know exactly how to get better at getting more views and visibility. The first one is clarity. Can you ask yourself this question? If a stranger was to come into my feed right now, would they be able to explain what it is I do in one sentence? That's the first one. The second thing you want to do is your hook strength. Am I capturing them in the first 1 to 3 seconds, or is my content vanilla and boring? The third thing is specificity. And that's where it becomes really crucial in your message. Are you being too broad, or are you specific in what you're bringing forward in your content? This is so important, especially if you're selling in the online space. The fourth thing is having proof. Now, overall, at the end of the day, social proof is a massive thing. This builds your credibility. This builds your authority. This builds also more like, know, and trust. And this is where you build more visibility and you have more engagement, because you need the proof that you have had results in whatever it is that you do. And last but not least, in order for you to really focus on the algorithm, that is all to do with optimization. And that is, are you getting really good at your content that people are saving, sharing? Is this likable, shareable? Are people going to save this? Is this a universal conversation that will get people to be able to relate to? That's what you want to start thinking about with the algorithm too. It's not just about you anymore. It's about, how do I make it relatable, not just to my audience, but on a bigger scale as well. Now, to wrap this up as well, business owners don't blame the algorithm. They build a message so clear that the algorithm cannot ignore. I look forward to having you guys on next week's episode with Say It With Your Chest, and I am your host, Tamara Meyer. I remember the first time I spoke on stage. My heart was racing, palms sweaty, voice was shaking. I was terrified. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because deep down I was afraid of being seen. I was afraid of my own power. But here's the truth no one tells you. Speaking isn't about perfection. It's about connection. When you step onto stage, whether it's a room of 10 or 10,000, people aren't just listening to your word. They're feeling your energy. They're watching to see, does this person believe in what they're saying? Does this person believe in themselves? The power to command a room comes from owning your story, not performing a script. That's what amplifies your voice, and that's what creates impact. I spent years shrinking myself, dimming my light, thinking I had to sound like everyone else to be taken seriously. The moment I let go of the performance and I chose to lead with my truth, my voice changed, my business changed, my life changed. And that's what I want for you. Because when you learn to speak with authority, to lead with conviction, to show up as the fullest, boldest version of you, you don't just inform, you transform. Own your message and create the kind of presence that moves people into action. Because your voice is your greatest asset. It's time to use it. So if you're ready to stop shrinking, if you're ready to step into the leader you were born to be, join me at Show Up and Speak Live. The mic is waiting, the world is waiting, and so am I.